Hello guys, this is Recaps Now here. Today, I'm going to explain how a man is stuck in a SUV and survives through the story of the movie 4x4. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts in a neighborhood that is highly secure and overprotected, and there are fences and cameras in every room. By this we can easily understand incidents of theft are quite common there. But if you think that thieves would be afraid by it, then you are mistaken. This is because we see a man named Cyro who is seen messing around with a 4x4 car because he was thief. We see that opens the door of the car and enters inside and takes out the stereo system of the car. Here we come to know that he is here to steal the stereo system only and not the car. After finishing his task, he acts in a mischievous manner by which we can understand that he isn't afraid of anybody, be it the owner of the car or be it the police. After this, we see that he is trying to get out of the car, but the door had become jammed and wasn't opening. He tries every exit, but all of them were locked. After this, he tries to break the glasses, but he is unsuccessful, as none of the glasses would break. By this, we can easily understand that the glasses were bulletproof. When the glass doesn't break, he starts breaking the door in order to unlock it. This is sadly of no use, and conversely, he injures himself only. He tries everything, but it was impossible to get out of it. Anyways, after nothing works, he takes the last resort and tries to break the glass by firing bullets at it. But as the glasses were bulletproof, the bullet only ends up rebounding and strikes him in the leg. This makes his condition even worse. Then we see that he somehow manages to stop the bleeding using his t-shirt and was trying to call his wife, but his cell phone's battery is shown to be dead. Now we see that the situation was not as simple as he thought it would be. Now, readers, you might think that he would ask someone's help, but unfortunately, that doesn't happen as the glass was polarized, black, and now there was no hope for him. He keeps on thinking what should be done, and by this time it's night, and soon that night turns into next morning. But surprisingly, neither was he able to find a way out, nor did the owner of the car come to claim it. He thought was the owner not worried at all about the car. Now it happened that neither Cyro had any food to eat, nor did he have any water to drink. Moreover, he had been shot. He thought that he had to do something quickly, otherwise the car would eventually end up as his grave. We then see that he reconnects the stereo system and starts listening to music in order to get some relaxation of the mind. While listening to the music, he again tries to break the door. In the meantime, there is a call coming, which was from the owner of the car. Cyro answers the call and the owner replies his name was Enrique, and that he was a doctor and knew that Cyro was locked up in his car, and that he is well aware of Cyro's motives. But having said that, he was not that worried, because he had faced such a situation 28 times before today. Enrique informs Cyro that the car had a security system which Cyro had turned on mistakenly when he took out the stereo dotted. Now, as the car was locked and polarized, nobody would hear Cyro's screams and pleas even if he dies. Enrique also informs Cyro that it might indeed end up as your grave, as I can control it via his phone. After this, we see Cyro shouts at Enrique in anger, and Enrique disconnects the call and turns on the AC. Now we see Cyro trembling and cold, and he wears his tee and covers up the wound using his torn piece of jeans. Now we see how he tries to cover all the ventilators, but to no avail, as soon the car starts to freeze, and the severity of the cold could easily be made out from Cyro's facial expressions. He was simply being tortured and nothing else. After a long while, we see that the AC is turned up and Cyro breathes easy. But just then Cyro gets a call from Enrique. He asks Cyro, what would you do if your son is caught on the charges on stealing things? He asks this because Cyro indeed had a son. He offers Cyro water in exchange of the correct answer. Cyro replies he would report his son to the cops if something like that happened. Enrique replies it was the wrong answer, as nobody can rectify Cyro's son. He further says that if anybody can, it has to be you, who needs to set an example for him. Enrique was right in saying so, as Cyro was setting a bad example for his son to follow. It could be clearly felt that Enrique was extremely frustrated at both criminals and the police, as he had been robbed 28 times. Now it was evident thieves such as Cyro were not afraid of the cops, as Cyro had tried to steal in broad daylight. As Cyro failed to answer correctly, he neither gets water or his freedom. Just then a police car comes, and the officer was closely inspecting the car. Here we see Cyro becoming a bit hopeful. But alas, it was no good, as the officer soon leaves, leaving a parcel of Polaroid glasses. After a while, we see it is raining outside, and ironically, Cyril was dying of thirst inside the car. After this, Enrique again calls and asks for Cyro's full name and ID, which Cyro provides. In return, he gets water to drink, but the water was meant for washing the car and was contaminated, which would harm him. But he was helpless, and somehow the day passes by. The next day, we see Enrique calls Cyro, and Cyro tells him that he had fever and was also shot. Hoping that Enrique might help, but the reverse happens and Enrique turns the heater on. After a while, we see that Cyro was completely naked, and he was being tortured savagely. After the heater is turned off, Cyro checks the user manual of the car, but that doesn't help one bit. As he was famished, we see him eating the pages of the manual and drink his own pee in order to survive. In the meantime, another thief came acting as mechanic, but he was caught and punished by passers-by. The next day, Enrique calls again, and Cyro had also almost given up. He wanted to be released but wasn't being allowed to by Enrique. We see Enrique inform Cyro that he had gone to Enrique's house and given them $100,000 on behalf of Enrique. We then see Enrique offers Cyro a chocolate as he was happy. Cyro somehow made a hole in the car in order to gain the people's attention. But that wasn't enough. Here we also come to know that besides being a thief, he was also a murderer, who committed quite a few murders in his past, but still had the guts to roam around freely. This is exactly why he was being kept captive. We then see that at night Cyro was trying to get the car to start as he had nothing else to do. Suddenly, on one such instance, we see that the car starts. But as it was in reverse gear, he drives it in that manner and crashes the car and frees himself. After this, we see that he goes to a restaurant and eats contentedly, but when the waiter asks for the bill, he shoots the waiter as he doesn't have any money. Later on, we see that it was his dream. When Enrique called again, he informs Enrique that he couldn't leave like this and was going to commit suicide. But he can't do it. Then we see a scene where Enrique comes to meet Cyro. After this, Enrique enters the car and takes Cyro's gun when he gets a call, and Cyro seizes the opportunity and kills Enrique by shooting him. Thus, Cyro gets freed. But he was too weak to run, and then see Enrique again, who had dodged the bullet and survived. In the next scene, we see Enrique pulling Cyro towards the car when a police comes there and warns him, but Enrique doesn't listen and says it was their personal matter. After this, we see a crowd gathers in there. But Enrique was adamant, even after being surrounded by cops and the mass people, some of whom supported Enrique, and some were telling him to let go of Cyro. In the next scene, we see Enrique suddenly let Cyro free and goes inside the car and meets a blast along with the car, thus dying. We then see Cyro being taken by the cops. The next day, we see that everything was normal and Cyro was about to be freed in a few hours. And here is where the movie surprisingly ends. Thus, the movie ends. Thank you for watching.